Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to be talking about postpartum and my postpartum journey and journeys and some of the things that I've learned along the way, things that I wish I had known or wish someone had told me, and hopefully some tangible things that you can take away and incorporate into your own postpartum journeys. So, first up, let's talk a little bit about just kind of the realities of postpartum, things that you can expect, and things that maybe no one is being like upfront and honest with you about. So, and just to kind of preface this for you guys that may not know, I have now been through three postpartum journeys. Most recently, my most recent baby is between 5 and 6 months right now as you're listening to this recording. Um, my other kiddos are 3 and 5. So, I've had a bit of distance in between each of my babies. And each time I feel like my postpartum experience has went smoother than the last time, which is, what you want. I will also preface this by saying that I have had vaginal deliveries and that I have not had any unexpected complications postpartum. So just know that my experiences and my advice and what I'm going to share today kind of comes through that lens. I understand that things like I do not know a postpartum recovery post C-section. And I was very blessed to have healthy babies. We did not deal with things like NICU stays or rehospitalizations for like bilirubin issues. So I understand that to a certain extent, my insight and advice is coming from a pretty basic place. But thankfully, the majority of people that go through pregnancy and postpartum are going to have a somewhat basic experience. So that's why I still, wanted to share this and wanted to talk about it. And just know that I'm always open to hearing your stories and learning from you that have had more maybe complicated or difficult or just different journeys than what I have experienced. I will also say and share that I have breastfed all three of my babies. I have never done formula feeding. I've never gotten up in the middle of the night to make bottles. Like I don't have that experience. But again, I'm always willing to listen and learn more and understand your perspective of those things. So please don't ever feel like I am closed-minded to those other like journeys and options and challenges that may exist for people that are having different experiences than I am. Okay, so some of the things that I wish I had known going into postpartum that I don't feel like you really like know until you know, unless you have a real good friend that is telling you and preparing you and being really honest with you about. And not everybody has that. And even when you do have really close, honest friends, again, everybody's experience is different. And some people are more private than others and aren't willing to like share some things, whereas other people talk very openly about everything. So, it just kind of depends on who you've surrounded yourself with. And you might not even have friends that are in this season of life yet, depending on how old you are and how old the majority of your circle is. So, first and foremost, and I do feel like this gets talked about a little bit, but the hormonal shifts that you go through like immediately postpartum, like within the first like 24 to 48 hours, and then for the several weeks after. I do feel like this is talked about a little bit, but I think it's sometimes hard to know like what things are normal versus what things are not normal, and I need to seek care. And I'm by no means like claiming to be a professional on this or the source of truth or the expert in this area. I actually am actively looking for someone to come onto the podcast and talk about postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety because it's not something that I feel like I can speak to as an expert. And I want to bring someone onto the podcast to do that. But I did just want to point out that every woman that gives birth is going through hormonal shifts, and it absolutely affects the way that you feel, the things you say, the emotions that you're feeling. And there is a certain extent of things that are normal. They call this commonly like the baby blues. And that is like considered to be normal. And it's like once you get past the point of the baby blues is when you like want to really be checking in with yourself and having people that love you around you checking on you and providers checking on you to see if you have, maybe early signs or warning signs of developing postpartum depression. But I think, it's just hard sometimes for people to determine like, okay, like I'm crying today for no reason. Is that normal? Is it not? And for some people in some instances, yes, that can be normal because your hormones are going through dramatic changes. When your body delivers the placenta, there is like almost an immediate drop in your hormones. It's like a roller coaster type of drop. And that's hard, on your body and hard for your emotions and things to get used to. All of a sudden, it takes an adjustment. And then for several weeks thereafter, your body is still going to be going through shifts and changes and trying to adapt and normalize those hormone levels. And it's definitely not an overnight process. The other thing is that we go and we have our babies, we go through delivery and we're scheduled for like the 6 week postpartum visit. And I think that there is this misconception that after that 6 weeks, you're like healed up, ready to go for numerous things, not just, the bedroom. Um, and that's a big misconception because, and this even comes into like everyone's delivery experience is different, whether that be vaginal, C-section, the length of your time that you were in labor with, were you induced, were you not, did you have trouble, like where you had to push for hours or, all of that impacts the body's healing process and how long the healing might take place. Um, so you're not automatically just going to like be better at that 6 week mark. Hopefully, by that time, you are feeling a bit better and you're feeling more like yourself, but you kind of almost, I feel, at least this is my personal opinion, I don't think you ever get back to the same place you were before in terms of like how you feel and your outlook and your mindset. Because that would be nearly impossible, right? Like your whole life has changed. You've just become a mother. You've taken on a whole new role. So many changes have happened in your life. And it's, kind of silly almost to think that we're going to get back to that exact place that we were before birth, or before pregnancy, even. And it definitely doesn't happen within 6 weeks. Right along with that, this talk about bouncing back and losing the baby weight, and how quick can you do it, and how far away are you from your baby, your pre-baby weight? That again is very individualized, very different for every person, and not going to happen quickly for some people, and it does happen quickly for other people. Everyone is very different. And just know that what you're experiencing is probably totally normal. I feel like my quote, I'm doing air quotes, you guys can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes, bounce back has been different with each of my experiences. And a lot of that has to do with, with Kinley, I had an epidural, and with the other two, I did not. And I do feel like the two deliveries where I did not have an epidural, I do feel like I recovered a little bit quicker and a little bit better. Now, is that because of the epidural and the way my deliveries happened, or is that because I was an experienced mom and I knew better what to expect? It's hard to say because, you can't, like the variables there are the experience and the epidural. Well, we can change whether or not I get the epidural, but we can't take away my experience. So it's hard to say which thing we can really attribute that to. Some lessons that I learned throughout my postpartum journeys, and again, I feel like this has just like evolved with each pregnancy, but number one is to take the time to nourish yourself. Take the time to sit down and eat a meal. Especially, this can get hard during the day when you're home by yourself, but when it's nighttime and there are other people around, or even during the day, if you can call upon someone to help you, or you have a friend that's there visiting, a grandma visiting, a sister, an aunt, whoever, take time to let them hold the baby, let them care for the baby, and you take some time for yourself to sit down and actually eat a full meal. It's so important to nourish yourself when you're postpartum and when you're healing. And I don't even really care so much about what it is you're eating. I feel like postpartum is not the time to really be giving a whole lot of thought to how much protein am I getting, how many carbs, how much fiber, how much. Like, yes, if you've gotten to a point in your own health journey, health and wellness journey, that those things are like automatic to you and you don't have to really give it a lot of intentional thought, absolutely knock it out of the park. Think about those things. Make sure you're getting your protein, make sure you're getting your fiber to support those bowel movements. Get those carbs because it's your body's like preferred energy source. But if you're like, no, I'm coming like newly into caring about my health and my wellness, and I'm learning all these new things about like nutrition, or I was immediately like prior to my pregnancy, it's not the time. It's not the time to overwhelm yourself with trying to get it all right and have the perfect numbers and the perfect ratios. And it's not the time. Eat. That's what's important. Eat. Listen to your body. Listen to what your body is telling you it needs, and that it needs food, and make the best decisions that you can in the moment and then move on. Um, I think the importance of rest is not understated during postpartum, but I think that people are quick to be like, well, just rest when the baby rests, take a nap when the baby takes a nap. Well, that's really hard because how is anything going to get done if you're taking a nap every time the baby takes a nap? And that doesn't honestly support your own circadian rhythm to be like taking these random naps multiple times a day. Um, I the routine that I kind of got into with both Hollis and Cade is that in those first few weeks when I was truly so tired and I really did feel like my body needed rest, the baby and I would do a contact nap once a day. And it was typically sometime after lunch, like early afternoon. And there was no like set duration. I never set myself an alarm unless I had to get a kid off the bus or something. But I didn't like say, well, I'm only going to nap for 20 minutes. I didn't do that. Me and the baby napped however we needed to, for however long we needed to. And, that really helped me. Like for number one, like giving myself the permission to sit down and rest, regardless of whether there were dishes in the sink or laundry that needed to be done or something else I felt like I needed to do or I could spend my time doing and be more, quote, productive. But that rest is really important. But along those same lines, I did not have myself resting multiple times a day or taking multiple like small little naps. Now, I'm not saying like, yes, there might be times where you're just like, I literally can't today. I literally can't. I've got to lay down. I've got to sleep while this baby sleeps every time that it does. You may have days like that, but that should not be your norm. Um, I think you're better served by taking one kind of longer nap in the day. Um, for number one, it's going to help you, like it's going to be more restorative to you. But then it's also not going to disrupt your normal sleep pattern as much. Now, of course, I've also learned how important hydration and replenishing those minerals are. This was all new to me when I was postpartum with Kinley. But then by the time I had Hollis and I was postpartum with him, and of course, recently when I was postpartum with Cade, I had these habits already in place, and it was so helpful to me. Like, I cannot really tell you the difference in my postpartum experiences, energy wise, and just like how I felt in general when I compare those experiences. Those minerals and just being hydrated help so much. I just cannot emphasize that enough. So if you're listening to this and you're postpartum or you're preparing for postpartum, start the minerals now and keep them rolling through pregnancy and through postpartum, and just drink as many minerals as you please. Um, because you're so like de depleted in certain things that it'd be really hard to overdo it. Okay. Then I think there are some mindset things that really I had to learn and embrace postpartum. Number one is to like not compare yourself and your baby to other postpartum moms and babies that are on the same, in the same age range and distance from postpartum that you are. Because as I've said numerous times throughout this episode, everyone's experience is different and everyone is going to react differently. Just one second. What, baby? So I have a sick kiddo home today as I'm recording this. I meant to say that in the beginning in case this very thing happened. Buddy, it's not working. Can we oh, you had to click him. There you go. Um, because I thought that he would probably come in at some point, but I'm not going to edit it out because number one, I don't edit my podcast episodes because I don't have time for that. But I also think it's just like authentic and real to the time of life that I'm living through and most of you are living through. So anyway, that was Hollis. He woke up in the middle of the night with croup and he's got to go to the doctor in a little bit. Anyway, um, this and then of course that causes me to lose my train of thought, but what I was saying is that as I've said many times already throughout this podcast episode, everyone's experience and timing is very unique to them and to their baby. Um, and you can really send yourself down a rabbit hole if you're comparing yourself or your baby's progress to someone else's. And also, to just give a big disclaimer that depending on how intimately you know that person, if you're just seeing the things that they share on social media, you may not be getting the full picture. And that might not even be intentional on that person's part. We're all guilty of that. Like we want to share the happy and the good things on social media. Um, it takes almost intentionality and definitely vulnerability to share the not so great things or the muddy waters of motherhood and postpartum and babies and stuff. And not everyone's up to doing that. And that's totally fine. But just remember that when you are like falling into that comparison trap. Okay, last thing that I want to talk about. This is really, really big. Actually, there's two more things. Next step would be taking time. Here he comes again. Taking time for myself and doing that self-care. Honey, you have to click it. You click him, you click the train. Taking time for myself, and I will tell you, my husband was really instrumental with this in my first postpartum experience with Kinley because it wasn't honestly something that we'd had a conversation with about before she was born. He was just very good about making sure that, especially in those first few weeks, where like honestly, my body felt so foreign to me and like I wasn't sleeping very much at night and I was overwhelmed with like figuring out how to be a mom. And especially when you're having that first baby, like you're questioning everything you do. Like, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? Am I holding her too much? Am I not holding her enough? I was breastfeeding. Like, is she getting enough to eat? Is that, is this normal? Is that normal? He was so good about coming home from work and like we'd get dinner and things done and everybody would kind of like be settled and he'd be like, babe, why don't you go take a bath? Go go take a few minutes for yourself. Once the weather got nicer, it was like, do you want to go like for a walk? Do you need to go do something for yourself for a minute? And sometimes he would just tell me, he'd be like, go do something for yourself, whatever you want to do for a few minutes. Like it wasn't even just that he would ask, he would tell me and push me to go do those things. And it was so helpful and so good. And then I was able to carry that into my next two postpartum experiences. And he again showed up for me in that way. But then I was also able to like do it for myself and vocalize a little better, like what I needed or what I wanted or was hoping for uh, to do for myself in terms of self-care. Okay, so then the last thing, this rolls right into that, is communication. You have to get good with communication when you're postpartum for many different reasons. Number one, you need to be able to say no. And that's hard, especially, if you are like me and you're a little bit of a people pleaser and you're kind of type A. Sometimes it's hard to say no to things. It's hard to say no when, your best friend Sally is calling and she's like, "Hey, I want to come visit today. Are you up for that?" And you're just like, "No, I'm really not. I'm really not." But what we're tempted to do is like push through and be like, "Yeah, I would love a visit. Come on over." Then you got to like get ready and you got to have the baby ready and you got to feel like you got to pick your house up. I, and the aside to that is that I would encourage you to let those things go. Nobody that's coming, I should tell, okay, let me say that differently. Most people that are coming to visit you when you're postpartum are not expecting a perfect you or a perfect house or a perfect baby because most of them are probably already going to have had their children, had some babies, had a little experience, and they remember. And you can really cling to those friends that, especially if they're like they got toddlers or they've recently had a baby and they really get it, they're going to really show up for you and they're probably offering to come visit so that they could come and help you. And that's the best type of visitor to have when you're postpartum is somebody that's like, I would like to come and visit and see you and the baby, and I'm willing to help you do whatever, do you want me to hold the baby so you can go take a nap? Do you want to just sit and hold the baby and I'll do your dishes? I'll put in a load of laundry. I'll help you do whatever. Those are the best. Those are the best type of visits and friends. But for people that are going to come over and drain your energy or you feel like it's a hassle, if you're not up to it, say no. Say, I'm so sorry, but we've had a rough day and I'm just not up to it today. No, I'm sorry. We had a rough night. And don't even feel like you have to really give them a reason or excuse. Just simply no. No is a complete sentence. And I think that's really important sometimes to remember postpartum. Now, on the flip side of that is learning how to ask for help and learning who your people are that you're going to depend on for help, or that not even depend on, but that you can reach out to for help. Your partner is the number one person that's going to help you throughout postpartum. And sometimes that is the hardest person to communicate if you don't already have strong communication in your relationship. And it's something you just have to get better about. Honestly, like maybe just as a single couple with no kids, you had great communication. But now everybody in the little family have taken on new roles and new responsibilities. And men are not as intuitive as women are. Okay. They're just not. It's not their fault. They just aren't. So they don't intuitively know to do things the way that a woman would sometimes. So sometimes they need to be told what to do or asked to do something for you. And you're not going to upset them most of the time. They actually would like for you to tell them, like, how can they help you? What can they do? And then the same thing goes for, those family members. A lot of times you have family members that are willing to help do whatever. They just kind of don't know what to do or what would actually be helpful. And the better that you can get about being able to say and give them an answer when they ask, like, can I do something for you? Is there something I can do? A really good example of this is like, it's a common thing for people to want to fix you dinner when you're postpartum. And that like really, it did not freak me out. That's not the right way to say it. But like when we had Kinley, like I didn't know how to like accept that type of help, you know? And I never want to feel like I'm putting someone else out, but really that was my own mindset. Like I needed to work on that. They wouldn't be offering if they didn't truly want to do it. So I needed to learn how to say yes and give direction. And I like on the like giving side of this, like if I have ever done this for someone, I know the details that I want them to give me. Like if I offer to make a meal for someone, tell me what day I can drop it off. And if I give you options or I ask what sounds good or whatever, then literally just tell me. And I wouldn't be offering it. I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't mean it. And so I have to remember that when I'm on the receiving end and respond in the way that I wish people would respond to me. So, if somebody calls you up and they're like, I would really like to make you dinner one night next week, what night would be good for you? I could make this or this or this, then tell them. Be like, yeah, on Thursday, that would be great. Um, we love lasagna. That sounds perfect. You can even tell them like, what time they can drop it off. Like they'll kind of ask you, what information it is that they need. And allow people to help you. Allow people to do those things. It's good for you and it's good for them. It's good for you because you get help, and it's good for them because it makes them feel good because they've gotten to help you. And like I've said, they wouldn't be offering it if they didn't mean it. So take them up on it. And that goes for any type of help. That was just kind of the best example that I could think of off the top of my head, the meal thing, but that goes for anything. That goes for picking up groceries for you, dropping something off, picking you up a meal, dropping it off, helping you get kids to and from school or activities. People don't offer if they don't mean it. And you just have to remember that. So hopefully that has given you some, I don't know, insights to things that I have learned and had to really embrace and kind of reframe my mindset around through these postpartum journeys. And like I said, it's gotten a little easier every time. Thank goodness. Because even so, postpartum is a rough time. It's a challenging time, and every time you're postpartum, your whole family is adjusting, and everybody's taking on new roles. It's either the first time, or it's now you're a parent to more than one child for the first time, and your existing child is becoming a brother or a sister for the first time, and there's change in the family. It happens every time. Every time there's an adjustment period. Um, but I do think that parts of it get easier every time. So hopefully that is, just a little bit of encouragement for you, gives you some tangible things to walk away from and either implement into your postpartum or embrace as you prepare for postpartum. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can always email me, or you can find me over on Instagram at Wellness with Vanda. Remember that you're not alone. If you are struggling and you need someone to talk to, or you just need someone to vent to, I am your girl. I promise there's nothing you can say to me that I haven't thought myself, done myself, um, or had someone else tell me or say to me. So always open, and always an open book to share my experiences as well. Last thing, I am preparing for a free training on February 19th, from Tired to Thriving. And it is all about how to combat postpartum fatigue. And this is not just postpartum in those first 6 weeks. Okay. This is, the first years of postpartum. So anybody with like toddlers or elementary school aged kiddos that feel like they're still struggling with their energy, and they just like in general don't feel as well as they would like to, sign up. I'll put a link in the show notes so that you can visit and sign up and join me for that. I'm going to leave you guys there for the day, and I'll talk to you next week.